Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health Radio and TV. I'm your host, Sara Banta. I'm a health coach, natural supplement expert, and a busy mom of 3 teenagers. Today, my guest will be talking about optimizing health through intermittent fasting, some other cool protocols. I know that you really need that strong physical foundation in order to work on your mental health and your spiritual growth. Whether it's overcoming anxiety and depression, losing weight, or detoxing your body in the proper way, and even increasing your level of frequency in life, you need that strong physical foundation of health in order to gain the willpower to make the bigger changes in your life. If you're new to following me, I specialize in helping you get there. You can find my health articles, my cutting-edge natural supplements, devices, and protocols at acceleratedhealthproducts.com. Accelerated Health Products is the sponsor of the show, so as you support my website, I am able to bring you more cutting-edge content and guests to this show. First, I want to talk about some tools you can use to help with your intermittent fasting and your results. The goal is to improve mitochondrial health and increase energy at the cellular level so your neurons are firing, leading to an open mind and a growth mindset and that amazing energy physically. The first one is Accelerated Silver. Accelerated Scalar Silver is the supplement that started this business when my son at 9 years old was diagnosed with leukemia. It enhances your immune system's ability to devitalize foreign pathogens, including viruses, bacteria, fungus, and parasites. If your immune system is bombarded with fighting foreign pathogens, it cannot simultaneously engage in those anti-aging mechanisms or autoimmune issues. By keeping the immune system strong, the body engages in anti-inflammatory processes, leading to optimal health. And it is enhanced with scalar frequencies to increase its efficacy. No other silver solution has this. And a lot of the accelerated supplements also have the scalar frequency enhanced in the product itself. Next is the accelerated keto. This is the game changer for those wanting to intermittent fast. This flips you into fat burning mode within 30 minutes and your body taps into its own fat stores for energy right away. You feel great physically and mentally, and finally you think, I can do this. Tell me now what to do, what to eat, and how to do it. And it's easy. When the body's running on the ketones produced by the accelerated keto, combined with intermittent fasting and a low-carb diet, instead of utilizing that glucose for energy, ATP production, which is true cellular energy, increases significantly in the mitochondria, and mitochondrial biogenesis is optimized. Furthermore, the additional ingredients in accelerated keto is unlike any other ketone supplement. It breaks down saturated fats into unsaturated fats. These unsaturated fats are easier for the body to utilize and easier for the body to convert into ketones. So when you're fasting, the body fat's more readily available to burn for energy, which increases ketones, and autophagy, which is the recycling of those cells that we want to get rid of, that junk. I always think of Pac-Man going through the body and eating up all that junk, reducing the inflammation. That's what autophagy does, and you get that through intermittent fasting, which our guest will talk about. Because of this property, accelerated keto is able to defat the liver, and the liver is so important to everything. It really is. I always say just love your liver, because if your liver's not detoxing the body, if your liver's backed up, your thyroid's not working well, your T4 to T3 isn't converting, you are not able to digest those fats very well, you're not able to boost that metabolism. It's so important. So just with the accelerated keto supplement, you are already starting to cleanse that liver. It's well known the liver is responsible for converting stored fat into ketones as well. And the more the person's liver is defatted and unclogged, the easier it is for the liver to function in all areas, including breaking down those fat molecules into usable energy and increasing mitochondrial biogenesis. The liver, as I mentioned, is where the thyroid hormone converts from the inactive T4 into the active T3. Now remember, 4 and 3 stand for molecules of iodine. And as the liver functions becomes better, the thyroid works better, increasing metabolism, mitochondrial function, and energy. What the accelerated keto has that no other keto supplement has, and most protein powders don't even have, is something called HMB. HMB comes from leucine, but what people don't know is only 3% of leucine converts into HMB, and HMB is what prevents muscle wasting. Everyone's focused on leucine when they're talking about protein powders, but really what we want to look for is the HMB, and the accelerated keto has that HMB. And I know we're going to be talking about getting that lean, strong muscle that we want, both men and women, and muscle wasting is something that we do not want. And we will be focusing on that as well today with our guests. So it's really important that you are focused on that strong and the muscle gains as we age, because that helps with longevity. The accelerated keto also has something called organic mucil and organic trichottu. Both of them heat up the digestive fire and also bring that more of a spark to burn those fats. So it's actually more than just a keto supplement. It is really getting into the fat burning. When you combine that with what the acceleradine that I'm going into in a minute, your ATP production increases significantly. You are getting into burning that liver fat, that non-alcoholic fatty liver disease that is taking over the United States. That is starting to get reversed. The visceral fat that it plagues everybody, the fat around the middle, the dangerous fat, that starts to get burned off and reversed. Well, with the acceleradine, sufficient iodine in all tissues and cells helps produce 36 ATP, which is 18 times more ATP production than without the iodine. And did you know not just your thyroid needs iodine, but over 100 trillion cells in your body have thyroid hormone receptor sites? Iodine is needed in every cell of the body. And I go through that on my channel and also on my website. So really dig into the importance of the iodine. It is important for brain function, physical performance, wound healing, fat burning, that wonderful word called healthy apoptosis, which is the destruction of disease cells and programmed cell death. We need this apoptosis. And with more ATP, energy and fat oxidation increase. Acceleradine also helps improve metabolism and physical energy by supplying the necessary iodine for the thyroid hormones. So as I mentioned before, that T4 and the 3 and T3 stand for molecules of iodine. You need that iodine for that conversion. The thyroid functioning optimally and the ATP is maximized, and exercise will further lead to the health gains that than exercise just alone. And acceleradine is the only monoatomic iodine that feeds the cells directly without having to be broken down. A lot of doctors will tell you, be careful of supplementing with iodine. You might have a reaction. Well, that reaction is typically from the other ingredients in the iodine or from the radiation and heavy metals from the source of the iodine. The acceleradine is radiation and heavy metal free. It's also enhanced with scalar frequencies to detox the cells from heavy metals, graphene oxide, and radiation. It's actually able to reverse the damage done to DNA. So many functions, so many needs for that acceleradine. Every single person needs it. 96% of the United States is deficient in iodine. With the iodine, the accelerated ancient salt is essential. And why is this essential? Especially if you're intermittent fasting or on a low carb diet. It's important to help emulsify the fats in the body to stimulate digestion, to hydrate the cells at the cellular level when you're fasting. The accelerated ancient salt's not like any other salt. It has over 62 minerals. Most salts are full of microplastics and stripped of all of the other minerals besides the sodium. And this has a strong negative charge that pulls out the positively charged toxins, parasites, and undigested fats. Really important for detoxification that goes along with intermittent fasting. A lot of my clients will feel great when they start on the accelerated keto and intermittent fasting. And then day 3, they say, oh my gosh, Sara, I just hit a wall. I'm exhausted. What's going on? Well, it's because you just dumped all of your potassium and your minerals and you have not replenished them. That's where the salt comes in. Put a little bit on your tongue or put it in your water. The energy comes from hydration. Your energy does not come from the food you eat. You've got plenty of calories to burn and fat stores on your body to burn for energy. So that energy is coming from the salt. Really important. Next, you can use the energy enhancer patches, which you wear. I've got one right here on my wrist. These increase ATP production in the mitochondria, increase heart rate variability, improve bioelectrical measurement or the phase angle or the integrity of the cell walls, allowing the toxins out of the cells and the nutrients in. They reduce inflammation, increase endurance. I put these patches on in the morning and literally within 20 minutes, I'm ready to go gung-ho on my workout, fasted, of course. I've got my accelerated keto, my acceleradine, my silver, and my patches, and I'm busting out a workout that is better than when I was in my 20s or even in my high school years when I was an athlete at the national level. And I tell you, I'm a perimenopausal woman. That's not typically the case. So I have no pain. I feel great and I feel more energy than I did in my teenage years. I believe it's because of all of these things I'm using, not just the energy enhancer patch, but then you've got the X49, which increases energy, recovery, improves cardiovascular, and increases muscle tone, increases muscle mass while you're burning fat, which goes right along with the goals that we will be talking with our guest about. And you do that with the X39 patch that resets over 4,000 genes to a younger state. So your body is literally acting as if you are 20 years old. So I give more tips and tools through my free group coaching. You can join with the link below on Telegram or email me through acceleratedhealthproducts.com. The difference between me and any other group coaching is I provide the most cutting edge frequency enhanced supplements that work synergistically with each other, and your body doesn't experience those flu-like symptoms. You truly do feel great day one. Leave a comment below if you're interested or check it out on the website, acceleratedhealthproducts.com. Now to the good stuff. Brian Gryn, who's been on I've been on his show, which was amazing. You have to check it out. He is an intermittent fasting expert, wellness coach, author, human movement specialist, and host of the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. He is leading the way in intermittent fasting as the author of the Simple Intermittent Fasting Journal and a new book coming out in August, along with the creator of the Intermittent Fasting Certification course. What began as a personal exploration into fasting has turned into a thriving business, helping middle-aged men make intermittent fasting simple, doable, and a complete lifestyle change. You guys, it's not difficult. You make the change. It's not a diet. It's not a quick fix. It's a lifestyle. With over 15 years experience in health and wellness, Brian also developed his fat burning blueprint program. Welcome, Brian. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on, Sara.
Brian, I want to first talk about what got you so interested in this. We all have our journey. We all have our aha moment. Tell us about yours.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in health and wellness for like 20 years now and training clients like mainly in and out of the studio. But what really got me into more the nutrition side of things and with fasting is a client of mine was pre-diabetic, and she just was having issues with weight control and blood sugar control. And she actually introduced me to fasting. I mean, I knew of it through just like major religions and things like that, but I never really did it myself, other than like one day for the year. But she got unbelievable results, and through guided fasting with a holistic practitioner outside Chicago here. And so once I saw her results, that sort of spurred me to learn more about it, and I sort of dove head first into it and started learning it and studying it and trying it myself. And then I just implemented a bunch of stuff, a course, a journal, and a lot of now I have a book coming out. So yeah, I mean, I really love it as a tool, and I think it's readily available. It's free for everybody.
Well, that's what I love. It's free. And I want to touch on the insulin resistance thing because I've got my levels continue glucose monitor on now. And when I've always been into health. I've always tried to, I guess you would say, biohack, even before the word biohack was even popular when I was younger. And I didn't understand. I would eat salmon and broccoli and my blood sugar would just go through the roof. So I had this natural propensity to be insulin resistant. And fasting has been a game changer, because even if you just implement the intermittent fasting and you still eat the same way and you still eat the standard American diet, not that I'm recommending that, and that actually is going to make things a lot harder, but you will start to see an improvement in your blood sugar on the 24/7. And it's really interesting getting the feedback from this monitor showing me my graphs of how consistent I am during my fasting hours. And, how actually the other thing that's really interesting is I can be low glucose, but feel great. So people that are in ketosis can actually have a lower than normal CGM readings and feel great, instead of the ones that are going up and down and up and down. So I just wanted to touch on that. But yeah, it's something that both men and women can use. And I see a lot of women, a lot of my clients are women, especially in perimenopause and menopause, where women are saying, I just can't get away with what I got away with in my 20s and 30s, and the hormones really affect it. Men have it easy. I hate to tell you that. There's not the hormonal shifts that women have, but at the same time, you do have your hormonal issues. You do have, as you're getting older, testosterone tends to fall, growth hormone tends to fall. Can you tell us what are the benefits that you're seeing with the intermittent fasting with your clients?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest benefits, I mean, you mentioned it, obviously the most potent way to lower insulin is through fasting, because all foods do raise insulin. And I wouldn't say that, obviously you have your patch. I wouldn't say that raising insulin is necessarily a bad thing, but when it's chronic, that's when it can be bad. So as long as it, if you're monitoring it, it goes up and it comes back to a good level, I think that's fine. But so that's one benefit, obviously, lowering blood insulin and blood sugar levels. But I think improved mental clarity is a big one that I see with a lot of clients, because when you're always in a fed state, there's a lot of energy used up when you're digesting foods. So I think that's a big one, along with increased energy. Obviously, there's been some studies around getting at least a short-term burst in growth hormone. And then you talk about autophagy and cell cleansing. So I think that just letting your body heal when you're in a fasted state can go a long way. When you it's like, when you're sick, do you eat? No, I mean, you probably don't eat. It's instinctual. I have dogs, and when they don't feel good, they're not eating. So I think it's just a part of our sort of like gene makeup that the body will heal if you don't feed itself anything. And it's not, you hear people talk about, oh, are you starving yourself? And like you talked about, we all have plenty of fat stores to get into, to use for energy. And so I don't like to use the word starvation, because that's far from it. So
I agree. It's you're just squeezing that window into a shorter period. I had a conversation with my son, who's 19 years old, and he could eat 6,000 calories a day, no problem. And his problem is that he doesn't have the time to make all the food that he needs to eat. And he said, well, Mom, do you think I could get away with 2 meals instead of 3? I said, yes, you can. Just to eat more during those 2 meals and squeeze them in. And once he starts his eating for the day, he finds that he's really hungry. So if he pushes his first meal out a couple hours, and he's got great clarity and a great insulin sensitivity, and so he's not worried about that. But fasting actually benefits him with the mental clarity, time saving, muscle building, and just, it's not a low calorie diet. It's not a starvation diet. It's totally different. And people don't understand that. And it's like, when you eat 6 small meals a day, your body says, oh, well, I know I'm only going to get that 100 calories in 2 hours. I'm going to just lower my metabolic rate because I know what I'm going to expect. Whereas when you're intermittent fasting, your body says, oh, wow, I'm in ketosis. I've got thousands of calories to burn on my body. Let's increase our metabolism. So it goes against what people would naturally think. So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it, like you mentioned briefly, it gives you structure. I think that's important with people because, we have food available every second of the day, right? We can order something on our phone and get it within 10 minutes. So I think one of the biggest tips that I love using with people starting out is to pick a time to like close the kitchen or stop eating, and preferably like 3 hours before you go to sleep. And I think right there, it gets you into a fasted state a little bit earlier in the day. It will help with sleep, and it'll help with digestion, and avoiding things like GERD and stuff, people who eat too close to bed. So that alone, if anything, is a great way to start.
And Brian, you're not a mom, but when I was feeding my babies, I followed a program that said you want to schedule the baby feedings because babies want to know when they're going to eat, right? And so my 2-week-old babies, as I got them on a schedule, would start crying for that food literally within 5 minutes of when I was going to feed them, because the human body loves schedule. And there's a way to move your ghrelin window. Your ghrelin, that is that hunger hormone, and your body's expecting to eat at a certain time. All you need to do is just kind of adjust that. And when you intermittent fast, your body is much more flexible, because it's not like saying, okay, it's 1 o'clock, I got to eat lunch right now. It's like, oh, well, 1 o'clock's here. I could eat. Oh, but I'm not able to eat for another hour. I actually feel great. I can wait another hour. So the people might be listening here, Brian, and say, that's all great. I want to get to that spot, but I'm not there right now. What is the best way to start intermittent fasting?
Yeah, well, so there's a few ways. I mean, I would say some people like to ease themselves into it, and there's other people who like to sort of just do it cold turkey. I think it depends on your personality and how you sort of deal with things. But I think even before you start fasting, perhaps you should just eliminate snacking right off the bat. And let's say you're used to having 3 meals, just focus on those 3 meals, having nutrient dense foods, and then just avoid the snacking. So if you notice that you're always snacking on the same thing, which I think happens with a lot of people, whether it's popcorn or pretzels or whatever that is, perhaps we just shouldn't buy that anymore and do a little bit of a pantry purge so it's not available. Either that or make it hard to get to. Because you always see people who have their kitchens and they got like these trays that are sitting out all day of just a bunch of processed junk. So I think eliminating the snacking is a first place to start. And then from there, you can eventually get to the point where you ease your way into perhaps 2 meals, or just have a condensed 3 meals throughout the day, which would be just, obviously you hear the most popular, which would be 16/8. So some people just want to jump right into 16/8. Some people say, I'd rather push back to almost do like a stepladder approach, which is what I teach with a lot of clients, and just slowly push it back until you get to a certain hour.
And so how would you recommend to overcome the hunger cues?
Yeah, actually, I just did a little micro podcast on it this week, actually, because it's just a topic that comes up a lot with individuals. And, yeah, those hunger cues, I think you first and foremost, you have to embrace hunger a little bit, right? Like you have to sit in it a little bit. It happens to everybody. I still get these hunger cues. They come and go. But that's the most important thing to understand is they will come and go. Ways to overcome is staying busy. I think is probably the biggest and best tip I would give people. And if you find yourself having the snacking times or the hunger cues at certain times, perhaps maybe go for a walk and get out of the kitchen or schedule a work meeting during those times. But you'll find if you sort of mix up your eating periods and change it up, that will help as well. Because it's really, are you truly hungry, or is it just psychological? And I think that's the great thing about fasting is you start to realize that it really is all just psychological, and it's just a lot of times just a conditioned response based on what time it is. So
Yeah.
staying busy, maybe some sparkling water, maybe even a warm tea or black coffee unsweetened is I like to use it as almost like like fasting training wheels a little bit. So those are some good ways.
Yep. And a lot of times we're thirsty, right? We're thirsty and we're mistaking that for hunger, or
Right.
just we're craving a little salt because we're low in our minerals. So take some electrolytes, and a lot of times that hunger will go away. So a lot of men, and I have a husband, I've got a son, they want to build muscle, right? And increase their testosterone. And everyone is drinking their pre-workout drinks, and they're into their, making sure you have your protein shake right after. What is your take on working out in a fasted state, having those drinks or supplements to build muscle? Because our goal is to burn fat and increase our muscle tone, and you're into fitness. So what does that look like?
Yeah. So if the number one goal is to build muscle, you can build muscle doing intermittent fasting. I've been building muscle for the last however many years, 5-6 years through fasting. Do you have to work out in a fasted state? I don't think I think that's up to the individual. I've tried both ways. I would say that for a younger individual, maybe, how old's your son?
19.
Yeah, 19. For someone like that, I mean, and they're just looking to build muscle, I would say that they could still fast, but they don't. I would say it's not like a huge, like necessary thing. I think stimulating muscle protein synthesis a few more times throughout the day can help, 3 to 4 times. That doesn't mean he has to have 3 to 4 meals. So, but if he wants to add in a protein shake after his workout, I mean the anabolic window, which is well researched, is after a workout is like 2 days. So it doesn't need to be right after the workout per se, and they can still take advantage of that window. But stimulating muscle protein synthesis, I think ideally for someone that really wants to build, it's like 4 times a day. That doesn't mean they need a huge meal, but maybe it's a little bit of eggs here and then maybe a protein shake there. So I guess it depends on the goals of the individual. And so if they just prioritize protein, like your son, for someone who's 18, 19 years old, yeah, they can do some fasting, but they should also have times where perhaps they consume a little bit more because they're in a bit of more of a growth mode and they can handle the excess calories. So for someone a little bit older, maybe 40 plus, it's a little more difficult to build muscle, but you still want to prioritize protein. And a lot of times as you get older, you don't absorb that protein as well, so you actually have to consume more than you think. And I think a lot of people under consume. So yeah, it just depends probably on age and goals. And working out fasted is great. I enjoy it. I would probably do that. I probably do that 90% of the time. But I think getting caught up in the nuance of that is, unless you're like a competitive bodybuilder, I think it's nothing to worry about. If you enjoy working out fast, do it. If you don't, there's nothing wrong with having maybe a pre-workout and then getting into it after that.
I agree. And I also, something that you kind of touched on was just getting so fixed on a mindset and not changing it up. I feel like the body needs to you want to keep your body on its toes and change things up, whether it's changing up the workout, changing up the food, when you eat and how you eat, incorporating the carbs, pulling back on the carbs. And I know that with women, strategically using carbs is very good for the hormones as well. We're going to get more into this after we take a short commercial break, and we'll come back with Brian Gryn. Welcome back to Accelerated Health Radio and TV. I'm your host, Sara Banta, the owner of Accelerated Health Products, and we are here with Brian Gryn. Brian, what does it mean to be fat adapted?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it's something that, I think a lot of individuals ask. It's a common question. Fat adaptation refers to your body's ability to convert fat to energy. So when you're fat adapted, you don't necessarily need like a steady stream of glucose to power your day or carbs. Instead, you sort of tap into your more abundant energy, which would be body fat. So if you think back at the like Paleolithic times, in those primal days, our ancestors didn't have access to food 24/7. Calories were scarce at times, and their fat mass kept them alive. And this could be often on weeks on end. So, it's the body's ability to utilize fat depends on, in large part, insulin, right? So when insulin levels are low, like on a fast or a keto diet, body fat is broken apart, which is called lipolysis, and then it's burned by cells in your liver. So we call this like fat burning. So that's sort of the short end of it, but it is a way to sort of get into those fat stores. And sometimes, depending on the individual's background, this could obviously take some time.
Right. And what I love about it, is I have a lot of people that say, well, gosh, you're so restrictive when you're in intermittent fasting, I don't want to live that restriction life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? It's a whole freedom that you've never experienced before, because you can go do life, whatever that means. You can go do your job, go on vacation, go for a run, and not think about when you have to have your next meal. And when you have your next meal, you sit down and you enjoy it, and you sit back and you can really take it in. You're not shoving a granola bar down your throat in the driving to work or whatever it may be. It just gives you that great freedom. And you can, being fat adapted doesn't mean that you can't burn the sugars as well and the carbs when you eat them. And of course, I'm not promoting processed foods, but more the whole foods. But it's a freedom when you become fat adapted, and your body learns to use both fuel systems that it was given. And so many people haven't been fat adapted since they were babies. Babies are in ketosis some of the time. And then we get out of that when we start eating all the processed foods and the juice boxes that our parents gave us, and then we never leave it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's a way that our body can run its energy system, and it's inherent, and people just they haven't tapped into it. Well, I want to talk about because your other focus is fitness. What does your fitness week look like? And are you big into cardio, into strength training, into HIIT training, yoga, meditation? What does that look like for you, Brian? And what goals are you going after with that routine?
Yeah, you must be looking at my podcast, because I talked about my weekly routine as far as workouts is concerned, and it's changed over the years. Right now, I currently do 4 days of strength training, and I do like an upper body, lower body split. So two of each, and then I have a rest day in between. So I think having like 48 hours of rest between a workout is ideal. So 4 weekly training sessions. I typically do some type of like sprint workout, or maybe more of a high intensity workout once every week to 10 days. I mean, you can do that on a bike. It doesn't have to be an actual sprint. It could be in the pool. And so a combination of those two, along with, I mean, I've been doing yoga for a long time, so I'll implement some mobility work, whether it's yoga or I'll just do some of my own little class. So I really focus on strength training. I've been doing variable resistance, which is with the X3 bar. Yeah, Dr. Jake Wish, I actually had on the program a couple times, and he's a pretty outspoken individual, but I do love his system, and it's something I implemented when COVID hit. So it's great because my workouts don't take more than 20, 30 minutes. And it's another thing I've changed over the years is, you can get a good strength training workout in 30 minutes, maybe even less than that. And I think when you do that, when you do these micro workouts, it sort of takes the excuses out, because, you're not traveling to the gym and you're not going for an hour. So it's not taking an hour and a half out of your day. It's taking 20 minutes out of your day. And so I've actually increased the volume of my workouts throughout the week. And it's helped with doing variable resistance along with these micro workouts.
I use that bar as well. I got it for
Cool.
my husband as a Christmas present, knowing very well that it was really for me. And I love it. It works. It really does work. And I'm with you. And it's not just for men, but I would say it's even more important for women not to overwork out, because as we get older, our ovaries die and our adrenals take over the hormonal production. So if you tap into those adrenals too much, your hormones are going to plummet as women. And same with men, not as much with men, but you're not going to get the benefits that you think you're getting. And I'm sure your focus also is to stabilize or increase that testosterone and the human growth hormone, because that's what helps build muscle and keeps you young. So are you focused on that? And with the micro workouts, are you seeing an improvement in the hormones of your clients and yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that regarding the micro workouts, I agree. I mean, I think it should be a staple. And we focus on. I usually do DEXA scans on a lot of my clients. We don't get a ton into the blood work. That's sort of, would say it's something that I recommend for clients, a little bit outside my scope, but we do focus on as much as we can, eliminating visceral fat around the waist, because that's sort of where everything gets dumped into. And it's sort of one of those leading markers for like heart disease. So, and metabolic health. So we focus on getting visceral fat down. And, the gold standard is really a DEXA scan. You don't need to do one, but you could just do simple measurements, around the waist and the arms and the hips and things like that. So I think you do want to measure and know where you're at before anything else, and then focus on strength training. And then we get into other elements, like we talked about, like my fat burner blueprint. I mean, for example, all this stuff doesn't really matter that much if you're not sleeping well, right? Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm sure you talk a lot about that, Sarah. So we focus on optimizing sleep and sort of down regulating the system and focusing on stress reduction and things like that. So, along with men, obviously stress can play a big role as well. And that can lead to weight gain. So yeah, I wouldn't say one piece, but it's almost all these pieces of the puzzle that have to sort of match up to help optimize health.
You touched on something really important, and I have to tell you a funny story real quick with the continued glucose monitor. day one, I was really nervous and stressed out that I'm going to be monitored 24/7. And in the middle of the night, I had a huge spike in my blood sugar. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm insulin resistant. This is crazy. But what was happening was it was just from stress and the cortisol in the middle of the night that shot up and kept my blood sugar high. But then after the first 24 hours, my blood sugar came back down. Nothing had changed except for the internal stress that I was experiencing. So number one, you nailed it. If you are not managing your stress or sleeping, those are the game changers. And just by what you had said, telling people to stop eating 3 hours before bed, not only is that going to help with your blood sugar, but that's also going to help with your sleep patterns and your circadian rhythms. And so with that sleep and stress management, are there any other tools that you give people to help them with those?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's important to have a sleep routine. It's also important to have some type of morning routine. I think they go hand in hand. I'd like to implement that with all my clients. And, when you talk about a sleep routine, and this could be something fairly basic, it could just be perhaps getting off electronic devices an hour before bed and doing something to wind down. That could be meditation, yoga, reading a book, whatever it is. My wife and I started doing, even just right before bed, just like 10-minute meditations, 20-minute meditations together. I think that's a nice way to sort of give a switch to your body that, okay, it's time to go to sleep and end the day. And, because a lot of us can be thinking all the way to the end, just what's going on during the day. So just sort of helps you stay present and get ready for sleep. So I do think it's important to also sleep in a cooler environment, not too cold, but cooler environment, and create some type of sanctuary where it's really blacked out. So those are some things that we implement as far as a sleep routine. And then obviously having some type of morning routine, I think is important, whether it's going for a walk or, maybe just finding time for yourself, writing in a gratitude journal. These are small little things and people might roll their eyes, but I think if you just do a little bit every day, it can make a big difference.
I agree. It also is something that I've noticed that if I wake up and I don't have a lot of energy when I first wake up or open my eyes, just by automatically getting into whatever my morning routine is and taking one foot in front of the other and doing, you essentially start getting that energy and that inner motivation for the day. Whereas if I don't have my morning routine, I feel kind of lost and behind the rest of the day. And I love that you and your wife started doing this meditation thing together. What an amazing bonding experience and healthy routine that keeps you both accountable as well, because you both are doing it together. Lastly, as we're coming to the end, can you talk about your favorite hormetic stressors and what does that even mean?
Yeah, I mean, for example, yeah. So hormetic stressors are also called like hormesis. It's these intermittent bursts of certain like stressors that can create like this cascade of triggering like positive cellular processes throughout the body. We've been talking about one already, which is fasting, cold exposure, high intensity exercise, heat therapy, maybe some infrared sauna, and I think you mentioned you love infrared sauna. But so these are all stressors, and stressors are great in the sense if they're in short bursts and they're not chronic. So they're just tools, right? These are things that you can implement from time to time, and anytime obviously you can overdo them, that can cause an issue. But I think it's important to use them when you feel like you're in the right state. I mean, should someone start fasting if they're always stressed out and they're not sleeping? Probably not. They probably should get those things in line before they do implement any other stressors into their lives. So, one I've been implementing for myself over the last probably year and a half, 2 years is like just some type of cold exposure. I just feel like it's helped with inflammation, it boosts immunity, Also like just recovering from workouts. And, there's been some studies, I think, there'll be continual studies coming out regarding cold exposure, but even with helping with increasing sort of that brown fat loss. So I love it. I almost think it's like a form of meditation when you go in the cold, because you have to focus on your breath. So you're sort of killing, killing, killing
Two
one
birds.
bird with two birds with one stone. Yeah. I went blank. But so anyways, those are hormetic stressors. And I think that a little bit of it can go a long way.
I do. I love the cold exposure. We have a pool, and in the summertime, it's not cold enough. And I love it during the winter. My favorite months for cold exposure is November through February, because the pool is nice and cold, and I've just got it right here. Well, as we're finishing up, why don't you tell everybody about your Fat Burner Blueprint program?
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, it's a one-on-one program with me. It's 6 months, and I've done some shorter programs, but I find that, it takes time to get where you want to go. And so it's all about just implementing these habits that can, help with stress, sleep. We go through meal timing. Also, we talk about obviously eating clean and sort of a pantry purge. And then that's all based around creating clarity and focusing on why you want to do this. So it's sort of if you want to say, like a holistic approach on these pillars of health. And yeah, I've just been working mainly with 40-plus-year-old males who are, looking to get their body back. And yeah, it's a 6-month program, and it's something that I've sort of put together through everything I've done in the health and wellness industry over the last 20 years. And it's been a blast doing it. So.
Awesome. And the 6-month thing is amazing, because it really does take time to get, this isn't just a 30-day shift. This is a lifestyle change. And when you really get into the mode of it, life becomes so much better. You have so much more mental clarity, physical energy, your relationships improve. You become more successful in your job. Your relationships with your kids are better. And there's nothing better than all of that. And I know so many men in that 40 to 50-year-old range have those midlife crises, and they don't understand why they can't eat the pizza and the beer like they used to in college, and they just don't feel good, right? And so I love that you're doing this, and men out there need the guidance. So thank you, Brian. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest place is just my website, briangryn.com. And on there, you'll see all the services, and then you'll see also links to obviously social media. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, and all those, Facebook. So, but yeah, my hub is briangryn.com, and you can find everything there.
Well, thank you, Brian, for coming on. And you guys can also check me out on his podcast that was just posted last week. And thank you very much. So thanks, everybody, for joining us today. And if I can help you with your protocol for your health issues, you can contact me directly through the website, acceleratedhealthproducts.com. You can find this episode and all my episodes on iHeartRadio, YouTube, Instagram, iTunes, Stitcher, Pandora, or whatever podcast platform you subscribe to. It's on over 100 channels. And if you like what you heard today, please hit the subscribe button and share with a few of your friends who may need my help. As you share my channel, helps me help more people like you and bring more cutting edge guests to the show. You can join us live every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time and use coupon W4HC20 for 20% off site-wide. Thanks again. Have a great week.